Anye chegang zobye chanam la chancho pardo dani gyatso kage cheshe gebe asanam ye dola penjire sanje rubara shu sanje chegang zobye chanam la chancho pardo dani gyatso kage cheshe gebe asanam Lola Benjere Sanje Dubara Shu Sanje Chedan Soje Chonamala Janjo Pardo Dani Gyazo Kage Cheshe Gibe Asonamangi Lola Benjere Sanje Dubara Shu Semje Tamje Dewa Tamte Gyudan Tembara Gyus Senja damje donga dan donga ye gyudan tawara gyuje Senja damje donga le mebe dewa dan minda wara gyuje Semje damje nire chada nida tabe dan yola ne wara gyuje Semje damje lewa dan deve gyudan dembara gyuje Semje damje donga dan donga ye gyudan tawara gyuje Semje damje donga le mebe dewa na minda wara gyuje Semje damje nire chada nida tabe dan yamla ne ba gyuje Semje damje dewa dan deve gyudan dembara gyuje Semje damje donga dan donga ye gyudan tawara gyuje Semje damje donga le mebe dewa na minda wara gyuje Semje damje nire chada nida tabe dan yamla ne ba gyuje Kange denje dewa jong laba me ba ye me ba je ba me ba da me ba wa me ba do me ba da de de me denje me je ba ye je je de ba zo be zan ye me na ye tam ba de la cha ze lo nian de je wa zan na mo gu je ni ge ni je je ze ga yin dan do la ben ba ra je na lam je ni ge je de dun do ze ba da kanda yanda dembe to na na ba kunde na zo de zong ba yin de jan jo ze me so je san ye ge ne yom de la cha de lu lo be da wa na za je za je ya je gong a wa gun do zang bu ze da kun ne cho la cha de lu 杂些北些这些门道这么日热林些你的眼巴的藏些心多没得不爱，这个南大心了就把那许久。哎，当王不如人那门道了当你呀，哎呀咪。Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha for all sentient beings. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in humility, free of vice, judgment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated in humility, free of vice, attachment, and anger.
Inexpressible, inconceivable perfection, wisdom, never ceasing space, the very essence, knowing of ever present, wisdom knowing is welcome to be. I bow to the mother of all victorious ones in all three times. Independent origination, there is no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming up, no going, no separateness, and no solemnness. I prostrate to the ground Zermet Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is free of elaboration. I prostrate to the sublime mother of Buddhas and of the assembly of heroes and Buddhist Sattvas, who through the power of pacification to complete. Who through the no paths causes no sort of benefiting migrating beings to achieve the end, and through possession the subduer set forth the varieties having all aspects. This ground spread with incense, adorned with strewed flowers, Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine as a Buddha land, and by offering to you, may all living beings enjoy this pure land. Thus meeting the teacher of the peerless teacher is due to the spiritual mentor's kindness. I dedicate this virtue for all living beings to be cared for by excellent spiritual friends.
Yeah, that. Patrin simke da parchin chukse subject ro. To Indola da simke da parchin chuki da Geshe da buja Indola da shibuji da yachimbure parchin chukse da lo kashi chin Geshe yabana chazanji da rin Geshe yabana ngazo tsare ze yomare. Da zawegi da kyangoro muchige chadab di nangla shibuji Geshe yepa da buja amdo simke su de la 다 도마 중단도 보다 semke자 컨디스 용거를 주바이나 다 가르쳐 당하는 건가 대원도 봐도 동을 면도 봐 지바인 봐 아니 제 대원도 봐라 대와 대위 유튜브 마시 동을 면도 진도 동을 이규도 토도 차바바바는 좀 밥도 그요 봐 아 텔레 타발라니 상기 고방을 못 치선지 톱 그요 봐 어떤 상기 고방을 못 치선데 톱발라 톱이 규가르에다 토바이게 탑 가르에서 되는다 아 대전람인 주고 semke즈니다 semkel라라래 되고요 봐 상기 고방 전에 토발라 semkel라 마템베 아니 지 상기 고방서 자데 토야 매데 버지 아 팀바레 또 딘데기 semke즈도다 sem드 간데스 케고레즈도는 다 케줄들라 아 지난 중에다 semke즈 민다와 니 또서 연구요래 아니 이 가레즈나다 지든 잠베야네 규베 semke즈 찍당 지든 잠방고 머니 규베 semke즈 찍잖아 양중 카셰나라 네 러번 지와토 지와토니 규베 semke즈당 아니 조지 올라디샤니 규베 semke즈는 다 야르 규베나 나렌데기 규베나 네문도스마 파빙도라 다 조지니 규베 semke즈다 아니 러번 지와라니 규베 다 semke즈네 다 간타르 semke즈 테니가 직 유니메가 딩이군이 semke즈 지고래 직들라 다시 냠제군이 semke즈 지고래 다 코니 빼다보 주바이나 야보도 semke단 주지도 semke즈니 도스 마치 지고래 야보도 semke단 주지도 semke즈도라 다 빼나 간디스 지고래잖아 야보도 semke즈 되게 야보 코랑 조제네 람잉올 다 kavalina masaji imbayina dadu mimang hyong yundala yabo korang zoje na ngondun doni ene yabo tiki korgang yimba de nyamdo tini yabla tini nyamdo dugo res ene chuzi de semje zidola chuzi de ta semjen so dudola semjen ga ngolla ta teni korang yabni ta semjen su gyobjene semjen ga teni du yabni teni dugo ra o tel sebu ozigo 강달 단단 디급수 다 드린 가족의 주야의 가르쳐가려 되바이나 디
For today's topic, we have altruism and the six perfections. Altruism or awakening mind or bodhicitta. And this topic is very extensive one, and especially about six perfections. Discussing or talking about a couple of years is even not sufficient. If you go into detail of the six perfections. And comparatively, His Holiness has explained more detail in this book as well on this topic. So if you look at the first kind of how altruism or bodhicitta or awakening mind kind of arises or comes into existence, we are all same, equal, common, in a sense that nobody wants slightest suffering, yet we always desire happiness. However, we don't know how to engage into kind of seeking the source of happiness, and the source of suffering kind of falls upon like a rainfall, and almost constantly every time. And in a greater vehicle Mahayana, therefore, to attain kind of ultimate enlightenment, the entrance or the entryway, the doorway is altruism, awakening mind or bodhicitta. without entering through this door of altruism or bodhicitta, one won't be, there's no possible to attain enlightenment. So therefore, comes this the practice of altruism or awakening or bodhicitta. And in terms of how altruism or awakening mind is cultivated or generated, commonly there are two traditions. The first one, starting from lineage starting from Manjushri Buddha, and then another tradition starting from Maitreya Buddha lineage, true lineage. Or if you look at in terms of the great Indian Nalanda's masters, one tradition comes from Chandarakshita, another comes from great Pandit, Master Atisha. And again, these two traditions commonly, or the first one is called, sevenfold cause and effect. I think in your book it's translated as a quintessential sevenfold, cause and effect. And the other one is exchanging and equalizing oneself with others. And in the metaphor of how to cultivate bodhicitta, we see kind of metaphorically kind of two different modes of ways. The first one is called kind of king-like bodhicitta, or king-like, altruism. The second one is shepherd-like a bodhicitta. The meaning here is that king, in a sense that, king leads his citizen, his followers, he himself kind of leads. He is the kind of ahead, and then his citizens comes behind him. In a sense, king is the leader and guider and, goes in front. That's one way of cultivation. And the second, shepherd, is kind of another way, the reverse. The shepherd usually goes after, the cattle. He lets cattle go first, and then after or behind cattle, he kind of follows. So two different modes of cultivating or generating altruism.
The Kantar Nazo Dring del Segati and a Georgian Cubi, Kundamanga Dunjuni, and Sam Kesuza, take it Holata, and the second to Sude. Ta Yamurumji Chatetina, Jizujan and Dobaina, Ajangi Giborisha, Shumamudu, and Zozo Samare. In by that, Yamuri Chatetina Landice, Sabuchivujin, Savik, the Sabuchivukan Shandu, Hamego Halam Soso Lobaina, Hamego sort of Halamindo. In my that Tanang in time that says you had the Tijizunjin, that Unimanga Dungitol, Unimanga Dumbotella, that says Zanata, Unimanga Dungita, Hizul, Hidang Rimbajiorata. The Kandikandesi go raise at Tikitolan, dropped to Sintuma, Jui, and it did Tana Lamrim Chimonachi, Tumuma Imbegi, Sem Ketuji, Sem Ketu, the Unimanga Dungi when he sent Ketu the Lamrim Chimonola, Tumuma Imbichi or it. Chichananga Makozolanum tea over in Apple, Koi. Dajin Yamjo when he sent Ketu, that Junju, sort of. Yasajival in the Junju, they take to Junju teacher or something, the Tolomisi in the Jam watches.
Yes. From the two ways of cultivating bodhicitta, the first one, sevenfold quintessential instruction, of cause and effect, which comes from great Indian master Atisha. And His Holiness, as said earlier, has explained quite in detail in this chapter, and detail as well as clearly. So there's really no kind of it's the first one, sevenfold cause and effect. It's if you read, nothing difficult to understand and to get it. So Geshe will go, kind of this sevenfold cause and effect in terms of the order or sequence, how these sevens are cultivated, and these are explained especially in detail, in a unique way in the Tsongkhapa's text, great treatises on stages of path, Lamrim Chemo. if you have studied, you might have familiar with that. And the second, exchanging and equalizing oneself with the technique is primarily explained in detail in Shantideva's text, A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Again, if you have studied that text, you have known from that text about this second technique of cultivating bodhicitta.
In doing a lot, that Tendigi Sangi Balas, you told your namena, you told the Radas, Tejalam Yuju, Sanjay, the Najingi, Chanjugi Sam, sent in Machena, Chanjugi Sam, La Combat of Majeva, Sangi Yakuni Medeva, in Basonza, you told Sungore. Tawana Tenda, Sanjay, the Kandisi Kigore, or Sanjay Koran Kiagi, you can raise it. You do a lot. They use the Niji raise Chanjulani Chimanala in the second word. That Savi Chamal Vichata Denala, Tanda Didoa. Then they get same the country Kigo raise the Diola, and Lasam Tuba Lasam Zigora. Manga Dunginani Tuba Dere. Tuba Lasam Zedi Kigu Yore. And Laksam Zedi, that really couldn't have to Julie, younger Yungur. Laksam Kigu Yores. Lasam Samke Kiala, Tuba Lasam the Kigu Yoba. That Tendi Lasam the Kiala, and a Kandisi Lasam Kandisi Kigre Zavina. The Lasam the Niji let any Kigre, Niji, Eugene Kigre. And take a long to Niji Wongo Yores. Teaching Sungor. Tawana Tendi Niji, the Niji Kiala, when I Niji Kibas in Digo Reveson, taking Digo Mare, Niji Koron Kandisi Kigore, Toma Niji Gondan Kandis, said Dola. That Yung Chambaze, Jiba Chagmide.
No, she was.
Yung Chambazendi. The Nijis and the Kivala, Yung Samjan Tamjalaji, Chanyam Gita, Yung Chambaz and the Maheba, Samjan Tamjala cabin, Niji said and then Bajiket to Mares. On Tindigi Niji Chimbo, Niji said and then Bajikivala, Yung Chambaz, Samjan Tamja and a Chanyam do home Guyores. Samjan Tamjala and the one done a Chimarunya make a logical Guyore, Taylor Yung Chambazigore. That Tendevi Yung Chambade, a Kandisi Gure as they don't let Tinzo Zata, Sumbatere. Tinzo, but Mijilanga took a pento given. Tinchambo Chadiana, take it till Lang as which Kandis Jalgo Yores or take a chatting word. That indeed till Lang Javadella, Tinchambo Incan Mijimo Hagu Yorwa. That Tin Tango Yore, Tinzola, Pajo the Tinchambo in Makona, Samlana Makona, Pajo the Tilan Jalto woman, teaching the Tin Tango Yores. That Tindigi Tin Tempala, Tiagi Tin the Suyung, Kawan Yung do Zidona, Soso Rangi Tony, Soso Soso Chi Tin Chamboza, Chijung Kachati Chigo, Tin Zidula, Sanjan Jenda Chigita, Sosola, Chi Pemba Duvaina, Chi Ro Tana Karina Chi, Deva Duela, Kenjiguna. Tin Dita Hagu, Tin Shebu, Marshi is that Tamboteni word. That Tendigi Marshi is at the Lata, go to Saturday. That John Pidgey, Jesra.
To attain, ultimate enlightenment or Buddhahood, the primary course, as we were saying earlier, is the altruism or awakening mind or bodhicitta, which is like a entryway or doorway to, the greater vehicle. And without having cultivated altruism or bodhicitta, there is no way to, achieve enlightenment. And now, if you ask what is the cause of this altruistic mind or bodhicitta, now we are going through the kind of, this sevenfold cause and effect in order or sequence. In your book, it is on page 33. I think mine one is old copy. You might have it might have a different page. Mine is old copy. 7 steps. So if you look at the, the cause of the altruistic mind is, it was also mentioned in the great treatises on the stages of Lamrim Chimbu, basically a great compassionate mind. Compassion is the cause of, altruistic mind. And again, as I said earlier, His Holiness has explained quite detail in this book here. And compassion is semgede 닝제 심볼 갑도 기어라 방아림 나올 닝제 등하고시 디바르델 학삼도 학삼데 기어를 좀 닝제를 기어서
semke de lasam de
아네 학삼
semke ge wala tambo lasam ji tende ge ta jendong kurdu ge lasam shu chimbo ji meba yina
닝제 마로
semke
갑도
ke tu ba mas
닝제 마로
male male
아네
ta tanda gyunmenga dungi rimba de ta gyundin julo ge rimba ji wala lo be rimba de te cha de
yes. So as in your book, the order, number 6 is the unusual attitude. Is your translation is sometimes translated as a special intention. Special intention. So we are going now kind of in the reverse order. If you look at the cause of the altruistic mind, which is the number 7, the immediate cause of the altruistic mind is unusual attitude or special intention. And that special intention arises from, if you look at the cause, number 5, compassion. And compassion and that compassion, again, if you look at the cause of the compassion, the immediate cause here is translated as a love. Loving kindness, sometimes more commonly translated as a loving kindness. It is a thought of, this, as I said earlier, able to have a understanding that all sentient beings are equal, common, same, and additional to that, may all beings be with the happiness. That is the loving kindness here, and the loving kindness must arise from its immediate, of course, repaying the kindness, repaying the kindness, and repaying the kindness kind of signifies that you have received the kindness from somebody else, and for that, from whom you have received kindness. So one also have that kind of thoughts or understanding, and repaying the kindness, and for that, mindfulness. Again, we are going back in reverse. Number 2 comes from mindfulness of their kindness, and so their kindness. When you ultimately kind of look at the kindness, where it comes from here, it's not talking about kind of being kind to oneself or self-kindness, talking about kindness that comes from others, and ultimately it comes from other sentient beings. So there's a beginning, recognizing all sentient beings as one's mother. That is the beginning of the this 7-fold cause and effect steps or technique.
tanda jang chadab di nang la ene semke gi yu kar re je do la ni ji re je ngodo nang do
Yes.
te ngo te go de tanda la ni jima na la ti je ja ji ni ngo yo re chi ba chi kyang re za wi gi number 3 ge bi yung ne ta semke gi yu kar re je do te ni je la te ni gi re je de za wi gi number 3 ge bi yung gi do ta ji re and tanda larin chimo digi nalo la misi gi nishi chenpo te toda parsundo ka chezo limba dogi kongtani to suma chubdi yore chigri wa ane palen lawa tabe kuma chobe nala tat nishi chenpo la chi toda parsundo ka chewa imbi gyumzengi ane pe nishi chenpo la to chan zaya la soba gyumzen kare zaba ina semke gi yu nishi imbi gyumzen to chene ta gyunimenga dungi na rimba ma goy ba ina ane niji da ngapa te ji tu niji gi chi tu ta tu ba la sam chen de ke gu yo niji la gare is na ko niji chi jung rimba ma bo ji yon la nyarang da jom ba te so nyarang da jom ko ba to ba ina da do ota nyarang la niji yo re niji yo ba zam ji sam ye ke tu ma re sang ye ko ba top tu ma re kyum zen te la de ne ta niji yo ba zin ni de gi mi du ota semje ki to me do laksam zende semjen tan ko nge ge jigi in zeme ji purdu keri marang ge tup sa re sambe popa dende ge popa ji ta che ma tu ba ina semje zende ki to ma re ze yumden la jene ta ni ji ge jisu tu ba laksam le ja laksam ji su ta semje ze dum ba semje to ma ja gu yo ro
Yes.
ta te yunemanga dunzi de ta marshi tin zo yong chamba ngaba ni ji tu ba la san dum ba semje ze Dorduna, Junimanga Dunzi, Dunguni, some kids that did it. The Rimbaji no Kebala, the Larinchman, Tumo Mayba Karis, Sungi or Ezabina. Te Mondo, Junimanga Dumbote Mahombe Mondo, Tambo, and Tanyum Mahombaina. Loa, sometimes the Jala Chanyam Gilochi to Mahom Matuba Imbaina, and sometimes the Marshi to Acunio Mare, what the Mare Machina, Tinting Mare, Tim Martina, take it Tinland Jalgi Mare, Tinzumare. O dus chene ta tanyong kechimbo imbe dus ma song yor ro te gari song sha ze na tela lani chimo na la tela thomar semjan khaji la chashin khaji la dawe chori su cheba ka ne semjan nyomba maduna jamba da ni je yang hewa te chori jendo ki is chori me bala mine mikewe tanyong gombar chao ze sure gari ze na semjan 그나 당당 알아주기 두서 마스터 연동하라 소속이 년다 지 소속 가사 니사다 두서 임발라 되절라 지 차바히야 아니 소속 마가베세게 가사지라 지 나와키야 다 차당 되니까 가야 많이 비타지 많이 비타 미 semjen지 임바이나 고 차바히 말에 나와키 말에 바르메기 고 딘디게 바르메기 로지 마다케 두고 말에서 제가 semjen 탐제라고 찬염기 안에 지 대원도 받아 동안 미드 벨로지어라 데르로데 케투고 말레스 다 소속이 딘 제사다 네 소속이 다 펜도 진에 로바 진이 딘디 미지라 미닝 아주 니지 케투고요레 케바이네 니지 세단다 마차고 말 녀모전 단 데데긴이 니지 차요레스 단다 장으로 차대부터는 딘데세 견도와 녀모단 데비 니지 차고 니지 양다바 차고 말에 덴데기 니지 양다바지 마차바나 니지 될라 템베 semje 양다바지 차기요 말에 임바 인상 라니 주면라 담보 땅용 모음 거래 해야지 다 유네명아 둥기나네 몽몰라 담보 semje 탐절라 찬양게네 베 로지 고음 거래 땅용 단년 갈라에 멜타베 바르메기 semje 고음 구요레스 대순 거래 다 덴데기 바르메기 semje 마곰 바이나 다 년라 차바키 년라 고 니지 고 바이나 다 차바단 데데 니지지 기고래 단 달라 임바는 니지군이 기고 말에 달라 나와치 되고래 임바인 송장 다 semjen 탐자라 바르미기 로티 지고바이나 semjen 탐자라 찬냠기다 니지케바나 찬냠기 데데기 니지기 로지다 대원도 받아 동al 메데벨 로지 케투그레 찬냠기 케투그레 대인자 대 유네명아 dwinji 원도 담보 바르미기 sem데 공바데 하장기 개침보레 에제 대순거래
If you ask what is the cause of altruistic mind or bodhicitta, the common response, according to Buddhist texts and text and the teaching, is compassion. It immediately points to compassion. Compassion is the cause of the altruistic mind. This is also mentioned in the Lamrim Great Treatise on the Stages of Path. And therefore, there's a great emphasis on the importance of compassion. The quote from Sutra, how compassion is important at the beginning, in the middle, at the end of one's spiritual path. And it is also, emphasized the importance by great Indian master Chandrakirti in his text. At the very beginning, he offered homage or salutation to compassion, because compassion is the seed or cause of the enlightenment. However, in this 7 kind of step sequence, we see between compassion and the altruistic mind, unusual attitude or special intention. And just because the thought is compassion doesn't necessarily leads to altruistic mind. Compassion has a many different kind of levels. Heroes in solitary realizers, the lesser vehicles practitioners, they have a compassion, but they cannot kind of that compassion cannot lead to attaining of altruistic or awakening mind, and therefore the compassion, that leads to altruistic mind eventually has to be, compassion with the special intention. Special intention meaning that not only there is a thought, but taking individual resolution that I'm going to make this happen, and this is my personal responsibility, and I'm going to make this happen. So one should have such courage and resolution, and therefore we have this special intention after compassion and leading to altruistic or awakening mind. And as we said earlier, however, in Lamrim, great Lamrim text, great treatises on stages of path, the very first and the very beginning step is, that is important is equanimity. Equanimity is important, and able to perceive all sentient beings as equal, common. And if you don't have that thoughts of equanimity, then there's no way to have a cultivation of thought of seeing all sentient beings as a mother, and therefore they remembering kindness, repaying kindness, the remaining, there's no possible of having the remaining of the step. And our kind of ordinary mode of thought is about with compassion is to people that are close to us, people that are close, and to them we have a compassion, compassion, and people that we hate, dislike, we have aversion, hatred, of course, no compassion. And then in middle, people, those who don't include those, either loving or close or hatred, dislike, we sort of ignore, and so without, when you have that kind of bias, partial compassion, and then obviously later that you're going to trying to cultivate altruistic mind would be also partial, biased, and that kind of biased, partial compassion, the compassion that we have towards our relatives, friends, actually mentioned here by in the book, he only says that these are not a genuine compassion. It's a compassion mixed with the attachment. So that kind of compassion, tainted compassion, compassion mixed with attachment, won't or cannot lead to a genuine altruistic mind. And so therefore, as said earlier, our great treatises on stages of path emphasize the importance of cultivating a thought of equanimity at the very beginning of these 7 steps of cause and effect. And so as said earlier, if you don't have that kind of equanimity, then compassion that you have towards people that are close relatives, friends, becomes tainted, compassion. And of course, you won't have a compassion towards people that you hate or dislike or enemy. And without having that, equanimity of thought, there is no way to cultivate, a genuine compassion, and therefore there is no way to cultivate, altruistic mind or awakening mind. So therefore, in Lamrim, it emphasized very strongly the importance of equanimity at the very beginning.
Sonza ta tendegi parmegi semde gombala na parmegi semde kandise gomgore zedonla ta semjen jangormiji chadep tenala tanda dasheki tejungdo semjen jizambala mibe ndigi mares semjen jizambala mibe parme semju gombayina tane ngaran zoge ta so so yula parme ta ji samjan thamja la chanyam lo sa parme sem yang ta ba ji ke tu go mares ona kandis gom gu yore je bai na ta samjan jeda ba ji mi su kan ne ta namjin so so da ji so so da ga sa da mega sa da o tende ge ga sa mi sa mega wa sa kaya ma yin ke ne samjan sum ma tambo mi su kar te mi su kar na ne ene parme gi tanda 소소 가위 초대 마인게 미가위 초대 마인게네 semjan kaya roji semjan cheda baji zo cheda baji misu kane degi tengdu ta parmesan de ki gandup chena zo gom gu yo res tene tende ki semjan chi ki tengdu ta chi aga migawa kaya main be parme ki semji ta ki thugu yo bai na te ke sarso na tene 소소 다 semjan ta gawi choji gasagi choji nyengi choji yo ro 대기 쪽이 semjela mine 대 semjen te zoya 당기 바르메기 semte ten도 바 케요네 미바 바르메기 미베 ten도 케요네 다 대기 ten도 바르메 semde 공고 요레스 다 테라 로 곰소나 다 미가베 소소다 미가베 sem 가자지 요라 텐데기 가자데 다 당기 바르메기 미베 가자 대 ten도 쿄네네 테라 바르메 sem 곰 투바이나 다 semjen 찬얌 라이네 semjan thamjala tachi parmesem gom thugu yor gombachi thugu yor es te maimbe namjun ta ngara zola chi ngangwa shushu kita shardyate soso gawe gasa gi choji la tachi dewa na chi tashi ba lo le ba chi chumbai na soso la gawa ki da de zola chi ma ki ba da madu ba da tinde gi chi ji thong songai na ta shibu ji nga zola chi 아지 다 강마다 된 농할 때마 타나 냠베 세와지 고 기구열 때때 너 차단 대비 고 세와 차들 세와 니 양다바 차교 말이스 다 미가의 초들라 조서다 마가 서줄라 지 어다 가르서 다 더돌지 다시바다 로라버든지 중마이나 나랑서 셈나라지 단디 마송서베 농할 기야지다 어다 대돌라 지다 미셰비 초지 지 농할기 초지 중바이나 소소라 가와키 소소기 생아람스 세미나라 가와키야티 레응거와 텔레토로고 파르메선 제데 기투 카보 요레 데니나 타 텐데기 간사 수미나니 담보 파르메기 간사 간야로와질라 파르메선 고니 데치수 가웨 초들고 데치수 타 소소 미가 초들도 조 곰네 곰바이나 파르메선도 곰 레라당 킬 텐데기 셈 다 semjen 단자라 찬양기에는 발미섬 끼레라 요래제 대단다 경우를 차대 되는데 제기합니다.
And how to cultivate this equanimity, thought of equanimity to all towards all sentient beings, and His Holiness has explained this in this book. Taking kind of, for your object of observation or target of your meditation, if you take kind of general sentient beings, and then if you try to meditate and cultivate, that doesn't work, So therefore, here you need to be really kind of particular in kind of sort of choosing your object of the observation or your target focal object of meditation. And in terms of our relationship, as we said earlier, people that we care, love, close one, and then people that we hate, dislike, and then people who are totally kind of stranger, neutral in terms of relationship. So you intentionally focus on one individual who is, in terms of relationship, neutral, neither friends, no foe, and aiming at that individual, taking that individual as a kind of object of your observation meditation, you try to cultivate this, thought of equanimity, and try your best to kind of cultivate the thought. And once you're able to cultivate some form of, equanimity towards that individual, then take that to kind of, people that are close to you, friends, relatives, and trying to cultivate the same thought of equanimity towards them. If you're able to do that, then eventually take that, equanimity thought towards people that you hate and dislike, and see whether you're capable of, doing that or not. And if you go through that process, then eventually you will be able to come to the point where you can have a, equanimity thoughts towards all sentient beings. And Otherwise, as we said earlier, kind of our default thought is, of compassion is, people that we are close, we know, relatives, friends, and when they go through suffering problems, then we have that thought of compassion. May they be free from, their suffering problems, and but on the other, and that kind of compassion is obviously, as I said earlier, attended with, attachment, not genuine, not pure. On the other hand, people that we hate and dislike, when they, are having success or, good time, instead of rejoicing, we have, it might cause us, hatred, really disliking people that you hate having a good time. On the other hand, if they are suffering, instead of compassion, you might have kind of enjoy, take a joy in that. So that's our kind of, ordinary, common or default kind of response or thought. And therefore, it is important here, kind of, in the process of cultivation, starting with the aiming at somebody who is neutral in terms of relationship, and then moving that equanimity towards people that you like, and then to people that you hate, dislike. And with that kind of approach or mode of process, it is much easier to cultivate equanimity and then able to extend that towards all sentient beings.
다 된대기 다 semten tam제라 지 차베 세면 마인겐 다에 세면 마인겐 된대기 바르미 센지 홈 살바 이나 데 지수다 윤명아 등기는 다 마르시에야 되는 거다 마르시에야 돼 라 삼로타이레 옴야레 다 마르시에야 돼라 컨디스 공구여레잖아 다 semten tam제랑이 마인바데 시구여레제라 마르시에도 semten tam제랑이 마인바 시구여레 다 semten tam제랑이 마인바 시발라 아니 tanda karzo war tanga zoge hiwa nga ji tanda changor bi chate dena hiwa nga ji ki namjate shegu yore le yunde ki namjate shegu yore ta hiwa nga ji ki namjate ta ha mogawa tang ke malang ba tindi imbayina ta samjan ta ji mar shi zay ta ko yonga za yine me de bajirwa imbayin za samjan ta ji mar shi bala ta sosu ki hiwa la thoma me baji 다나진 샘쟁기 개발하야 토마메바지 인데바 토마메바니다 시게다키 용대도알라 신디기 마데 소소라 까딘치 뭐다 단다 신디라 찾아봐이나 다 딘쳔부기 지바이나 신디 말레 라비기 딘쳔부지 다 지금 미진디나라다 말한소 소소라다 지nye 메데베 데베치레스 데 가르에즈바이나 다 가르조르다 지 토마 맹알도 사변다바니 존데 다지 라고 텐데제네 메게 지 저거 나라 다지 마 코랑 기 자야랑 토야가 대저근가 부 저거는 게 부국이 있더라 너기도가 팽기도가 대다 다제 지기 전에 코랑기 자동라 다 강고 지고 요래 다 다가 내진이 마 치주 많이 제바임바이나 보다 제 오마 순제네 칼라 순제네 벨 라베터 보다 미자 순제네 보다 칼류다 나블리라서 바테조 강갑치 라베치야단다 딘디기다 두스마 형야 아따 또도 부디야 살롱 중산나 다데게 부기 미제긴 둔람라 삼로테야 거기 마음빈 둔람라카 가르고도 텔라 로종 제고와 또 로종 때 잡아진 로종 템바진 이데 다 거기에 지금 갈로 당한 쪽에 샹시 야야라 소베게 다 소에게 내다 되게 돌아 삼로당 거 다데 데네마 지도라 마코랑 게네 로겐고 차데베나 다 되게 다 부국이 다 갈로 다 차오다 참마다 대저거 돌아 단다지 섬대지는 내고요다 미즈 감점 두스만 지고로와도 임바인장 텐데게 마 센디 마디 소소라 진주부 다가지 세지 임바 하고서나 대 내진기다 샘전 탐제랑의 마르규바 지바 임바데 따고레스 대 따고데 가레잖아 개발라 토마요 말가지 개발라 토마 메바이나 왔다 말레 마키비다 라와와지 요 말에 난 가던 가져다 가져 개발 렘바이 임바이나 말라테니 키고요래 메기 장경 올라 초고요래 초고요래 메기 장경 올라 맞춰봐다 메기 장경 메기 마뎀베 말라 마뎀베 다이 혀 렘바지 메바 인자 오다 semjen te tamje rangi marki paresha oda semjen mangpu dan linde bashi soso ge danda phenje ki kyewa gazo de le ta dongda thida gazo le ba yana te phenja la ma te sindi ki ma na jing ki ta chamkyong du so ma chang de yo bashi ma ba na danda ngara so a chi sa ma yi ji bo de kyewa gazo lengi yo kyewa dan linde bashi ma ba na lenju la de te zo ki kyewa te zo in ba yana ma la teni ki gu yo ba me chamkyong la so gu yo ba chi ba yin ba song sa 다 마제디 아장기 띵좀버리샤다 제니다 메기 띵데다 삼구요데 마섬제데 마르셰제데 메기 띵 삼베데
마르셰바
다티 유네맹 아중게는 게 당보디 차데로
Earlier, I forgot one thing. Geshe quote from great treatises on stages of path Lamrim about the importance of equanimity. So in the Lamrim, the quote it says, if you have attachment towards some, if you have a hatred or aversion towards some, then and not able to have a kind of equanimity towards all, then loving kindness, compassion that you have later will be also biased and partial one. So therefore, it's important, to have at the beginning equanimity, able to see all sentient beings as equal, common. So with that as the beginning, then moving to the sevenfold cause and effect. The first one is recognizing all sentient beings as one's mother, and here, as His Holiness said in the book, it is important to kind of have an understanding of or belief in concept of cause and effect, rebirth. And those who have no belief in rebirth, there's no way to kind of have this kind of technique applicable, and because they don't believe in that kind of rebirth system, and therefore becoming a mother. And so here, beginning with oneself and then all sentient beings, we need to understand that our own,
Koran hiyagi yudela sheba gaji ngamaji nyele maje bala zuji gi pembuji gi ta nyelen chiba yo mare shebe gi nyelen la ane sheba ji gu yo bai yumzen du chene ta ngaran zu gi ta nangi semde yang shebe gi charo shebe gi chaji imbe chane ko hiyagi yude Koran gi gaji ngama nyelen ji sheba ji gu yo re te yo bi yumzen gi ta hiwa ngama yo bade te gi tu bore.
And how can we establish the existence of the previous life? And the reason, the Buddhists use is the reason of the continuity of the consciousness. And, the present consciousness must come into existence, because of the immediate cause, which must be nature of consciousness. Inanimate object cannot produce consciousness. So the consciousness, in its present moment must be preceded by a former moment of consciousness. So therefore, if you trace this back, the consciousness has to trace this back to another moment of consciousness and consciousness. And that's the reason that's used to kind of prove, the existence of previous life and former life. And so here, then, one needs to understand, looking at one's own life as well as life of other sentient beings, our life, is considered as a beginninglessness. There is no kind of, beginning of one's life. And because of the beginninglessness of the life, the numbers of rebirth that we have taken, we have to take a birth, and to take a birth, there must be a mother, to give birth. And therefore, understanding, kind of recognizing all sentient beings as one's mother, and the remembering their kindness. When we remember the kindness of others, the mother's kindness is considered as kind of the highest form of kindness or gratitude in mundane sense, and there's no higher kind of love and care of mother. So, beginning with once there was a conception, and then mother keeps, fetus inside, womb for 9 months, and during that time, mother does everything, including, what to eat, what not to eat, abstain based on, what is inside her womb, and after giving birth, feeding by one's hand, taking care, cleaning, does all that. And then as child grow, things and focus on, children's education in a community or society. And then later, kind of, when childs grow up, making his or her kind of life success, trying to, have a partner. And so, when you look at the mother's responsibilities of the child, it goes kind of continuously, of, her entire life until she gets to kind of age of retirement. Even during that, she worries about grandchildren and how they should be kind of, good. And so how they should be good livelihood. So, it's kind of endless kind of, so therefore, one needs to understand, the recognize, the gratefulness of one's mother, and with that, kind of using these lives, mother's gratefulness, and then kind of applying that to all other sentient beings, as we said earlier, using the logic that all other sentient beings has been one's mother once in the past, and again, because our life is a beginninglessness, and if we were born to a mother, then we would have gone through those kind of treatment or caring, loving care by mother, and likewise, if you look into the future, going to rebirth again and again, we need to rely upon a mother to take a birth. And without having a mother, there is no kind of rebirth. And if you take a rebirth in the future of mother, then, again, recognizing her, gratitude.
Tene ta tindegi ma ta samja tamja rangi ma imba shezona ta magi tintiya de tanda nga kondu juba na jide tsindegi magi sozola kazoji tingi hyangyo ba de na jin ta samja tamja rangi mar juba chiya meba ina ma te tamja ki yang tsindi magi sozola tingi hyangba na jingi ta tezo ganga ge tingi tindegi hyangyo ba de tinten bare. Tene tin zo azidon tatela tinlen kandisin jalgu yo de dora te tinlen jale de samlatan de tinlen jalgu yo ba de samlatan de tan jiten namjung gi jiten jawe ge phalba jiten gi jaw phalba jila samlatan ba yana ngazo ta ji mi ji ge soso la te ji roba la so be ta ji tin chibu ji ji yo ba na tela ji tin la ji tin zambu la zambu imba ngoma sheba chene lonjal cheba tinlen lonjal ze gorata tin de manjala ina yamena tin chembu imba ngoma sheba imba ina chi mi tashalwa ji mi tapsha ji yuta megen ji gora tanga zo o dendi jila shigoro kaja de shigoro tin najing gita semjan tan margu ba tin demba 토네 딜렌 잘고 요바티다 삼로다데 삼전 탐식이 딜렌 잘고도 니 딜렌 잘고도 딜렌 잘라 삼로다데라 딘조와레 다 마르시 딘조 다 용이 잠바세데 다 딘데기 딜렌 컨디션 잘고도 자바네 딜렌 잘하기 딜렌 가레 자바이나 선 딘데기 마르규베 삼전데 담제지 뒤다 남바 탐지도 대화 달덴바 대비 유당 덴바 너는 뒤다 남바 탐지도 지 동알다 대소 강야데 지 매버치야디 예용이 잠바제야데 진소야기 진소데 예용이 잠바제야디 키고요래 다 딘디지 선전 탐제 다 대화단 된고도 뒤다 나바 탐주도 해지 레비 유튜브 두바다 레비 대화랑 거바디 예용이 잠바제 तेने मार्शी टिंडन टीजो यूं चुबा ता तेंडे के रेवे ता देवाला गोय पातेला ता तंगे निजे लेंगुरो टिंजो यूं चंबा apa निजे जने ता करजोता देवाता रेवे युला ngo나 지모로 냠바자니 되기미도 선전 담제 기타 동al 쿠르도 겨라지고도 동al 다 달고도 동al 다 달레 삼바스 동al 대다 만다나 대와티 둑둑 메와 대 삼로다야들라 니지들이 다 동al 다 자완데베게 삼바들라 나바 니지지고 다 덴데기 니지들라 다야 덴데 니지들라 니지 케바자니 되기미도 니지 잠 케바자니 오나 삼케 두고레스나 케 두고 말에 왔다 동아다 달라 잠지 대화당 거는 지마로 동아다 달라 지마로 냠베게 덴데게 삼로삼 녀라 라양 요래 녀라 다좀 발라양 요래 녀라 다좀 고반도 보지 토바이나 대삼 레투어 니제 대삼 기투고 요래 대삼이 선전 탐자연지 사기 고방 사기 용어 고방 용어 거 두고 말에 왔다 되다 넘바 탐주도 대응 오는 거 두고 말에 대응 거 제발다 가리고도잖아 다 딘데게 동안 다 달고요나 달라긴 간데 수케긴 케긴지도라 때 달러 제긴데 나라랑 게 제기 네케 제도사래 네게 선전다 제 동안다 타워 제 투기도 삼백에 딘데게 다 그렇게 겐래야 되라 두발라 삼지고 그래
So therefore, now we're going 7 step in kind of its proper order, beginning with recognizing all sentient beings as one's mother, and then becoming mindful of their kindness or remembering their kindness, as we explained earlier, using this lifetime's mother as an example, and just like this mother has been very kind of caring, loving. Likewise, the past mothers must have done the same, treated the same way towards me, and having received all this gratitude and kindness, it is important next step to kind of repaying their kindness, repaying kindness in ordinary common sense, and if somebody has treated you really nicely, if you don't respond in the same way or respond in a negative way, it is considered as a very kind of bad character, mean, rude, something that we don't appreciate. And so therefore, it is important to repay the kindness. And after repaying kindness, for that comes your translation, just love, sometimes translated as loving kindness, or cherishing love. Which means that because your mother has done so much to you, that in response you want that mother to be always with happiness. Every time in any circumstances has to have that kind of thought cultivated towards your mother, and that you're going to be the cause of her happiness, that you're going to sort of take her to that state of happiness. And may I should have done that, and so have that kind of thought, and simply kind of having a thought that may she be with the happiness is it won't solve the problem, and therefore moving forward, compassion. The compassion is, as that if there's no separation her from the suffering, then there really is no happiness. So therefore, wishing, desiring, making her to be free from suffering, and that is compassionate thought. Again, that compassion the number 5 is not sufficient. Simply having a compassion won't lead to altruistic mind. As we said earlier, heroes, solitary realizers, even 4 destroyers, arhats, they have compassion, but those compassion doesn't lead to altruism or awakening mind, or eventually able to attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. And so you sort of strengthen, refine that compassion that already has, and therefore number 6, special intention or special attitude. That means, as I said earlier, since suffering must be eliminated, separated. I will be the one who's going to make this happen, and you take your individual kind of responsibility and commitment, and that is number 6, unusual attitude or special intention.
Chesan tende kita tupa lasam jo ale. Ati ngalan di china. Break.
Break lamb.
Kamanga teban tu sasha.
I was going to say we'll take a break here. 10 minutes break.
Ya da. Ta tanda di tupa lasam je ati. Ta lasam te la ta sanyi ki ndo nang la. Ene pe nying jibo jini pe yabu ji nyamdo tu zuma sanyi ki ndo nang la sungsha rwa. Tiji shuna samsung kare jana nge azo lo la char de wata ti yabu shabu jindo. Kare sungdu zana tanda lari jimana ndo te tang shandu. Pena kimda jila mizang jila. Ene pu nying jibo ji pe chi chambu jingin tupu ji tende pu ji yeba je. Ene yedu ngala yeba na jin ta pama te zu yinba na pu la shabu ji ta chi chamchi yode ba. Pu ngane na chi chambu jingin tupu ki yode ba. Tende ki pu ji ta mizang me dong ji sadong chim mi chi zoba ki kante yo tende ki dong chimbu ji nan du su long je. Long tu la ta pu ki ama ta jenpa ki tan chi pinja la so pe nyen ta tesu kanga chi tesu ki ta pu ki dong te na za du ki wa thong chi thong ba ma che ta thong ba yin na ya kuni kar zo ta chi ngoya da ta ke ya da tende ki chi dungal da chi dungal jin da de ya ma do so rani dong na chi ma zui ni so ba na zui ni len tu me ba che tende ki ta ke yap tende nguda da ta te chi tu la ta lu ke yap de be khatu la ta pu ki pa te le ni lam sa ne pe chi pha jo ki dong ki na lo ki chu ki ta chu dang so ba na so ki ta chi so ba cha do da tende ki ni ma sa ba chi ni pu te le kyo ba ki Kyoya danta don tele ma laya ki chido chi sasam me pasani mi to lamsa ma dongina ma sadong na chom ni uzu chilo lemba dabu chire es tupa lasam zayadi teni chi tate ki chaya kari chungu re zaydi nga la ene tantan rung tiki rwa ene ngaran zu siba sum khorwa chi yo rwa khorwa te dong tiki dong zoba te na khorwa te pechar go re rwa ene 우기 하마다 년다 대조 지 무게 잡대야다 지 렘메 두버지 자로와 어 대조가 가르친 거잖아 냐랑 다좀 받아 냐랑 파파다 대조 되게 준 거. 로와 아니 부쿠란데 가르친 거잖아 다 냠다 비심젠데 다 심젠 탐제잖아 심젠 탐제 동al 진내를 롱데 여바디 우되게 준 거. 우동을 잡아 되게 준 거래. 아니 파데기 다 동나마 주인은 우초 레야지어로 레야디 가르친 거잖아 두바 라삼 돼야돼 라삼 된데다 삐띠다 버레스 어딘지 송샤 니지부터
About the 61 in the sevenfold cause and effect, unusual attitude or special intention. For this one, there is a beautiful metaphor that was mentioned in the sutra, Buddhist discourses, as well as yes. Sutra requested by Lodo Sangpo. It's the name of the person. I was trying to remember that in Sanskrit. But it's the sutra, requested by Lodo Sangpo. Okay. So in that sutra comes this kind of metaphoric kind of story. So imagine that a family has a beautiful children, loving, caring, and children that all family member kind of cherish and love to kind of care, give love. And if that child kind of fell into a big hole of impure trash or garbage, the family members, relatives, they would obviously, get kind of scared, shocked, and they will, cry, for help, crying of suffering, pain, and if the father of the child kind of show up, he would immediately sort of, the father of the child, regardless of his own condition, would straightforward jump in that hole and then save the child. So the courage of that father here is, is like a special intention. And in the meaning, and that big hole filled with trash, is like samsara, cyclic existence, and people who are family members who are crying, yelling, but not really able to jump into the hole, are like heroes and solitary realizers, for destroyers, supreme beings, noble beings, not really kind of take action. And then that child who has fallen into that hole is, sentient beings who are suffering. And then the father, father who's kind of capable of saving, sacrificing himself, is like a sixth unusual attitude or special intention.
어떻게다 규르맹아 둔제데 디버치로 다 버진 쪽에다 어떤서나 모두 저런다 dordi dobjidusu juyachi ta jidan parjin dog jawade ta janju sem den dewe ta lasam tela tembe ta samjan tam rangi khurdu kewe ni denige samji dos ma cheba ina tegi ta khogi nyamlan de ta gari chigo resana ta jizo parjin dog de nyamsu le ade jizo parjin dog nyamsu lamba la tene ta sangi ko palang goya de ro ta te 가래잖아 semjen 당게 ngazoge tiroda ngone semje de la yabulde bi semje jidan chuzilde bi semje ni 당소아 다 semjen 담제 기든도 토마 라니기 라니 상기 예고요 봐 yabulde bi semje de 차고 그래 봐 라니 상기고요 봐다 라니 상기 봐라 아니 람라 랍고라 lam labegi lam de la kare ta jizo parji du nyamlen de ta tawe gi semke gi ta ngazu ge ta semke kurang gi modon zena mi do semke gi chini ze de la kare ja go re zena rang yu jen den de ni gi de be ta shin ze rang ro jang ju de ni gi de ba da chun den gi tejen zo gi ne ri ke bar chen ze ta dor du na semjen tamji gi don da la sang ye gi de ba ye ba chi de ba ye ba donda du dumba yabachik tegi donda la semja tamje gi don duba la rani sang ye dumba te dini sonlen koni nyamdu te ne ane lamla gombe lo ze zori jire tendegi ta Nyamlen tela jimba tsurim zoba tsundu sometimes sharab zenita rimba to trukchi yongyore. Tatenangi jimba zedonla tongue chidon jimba zedala tongue samba zigor. That tongue samba karitong zegan tongue karitong zana chapa da mande goni any soso gita lu launch to some jagazata chapa karimba na jimba por longenji chumbayina and longen kandeji chumbayina tela 착선다 만들기 돈이다. 된디게 동섬지 해봐이나. 데 데다고 데다 짐바차들. 다 코로나 노동기 최기 짐바 자생이 짐바 미지비 짐바즈니 숨용거래. 다 때는게 최기 짐바제 되어라 다 소소라이 시대비 최대도 이제라 제 파메라 두스만 돈돈이게 여변에 셰알라 소베다 두숨게 게잘라 소베데 돈야데레 자징이 지바지도 다 유잘라 소베다 뭐고 중자리나도 제자리나 임도 다 대도 강가 아니지 짐바보 지 로마볼라 다지 차선다 마레요는 돈바이나 대치 자징이 짐바레 다 민직비 짐바제도라 근데 삼진 옌지다 당하랑 쪽에다 단다디 세답 동안 사고들에 파조니까 삼전지다 제 소동 가야기 년가를 된데 투대여 봐이나 대 소래 조협야돼 교바데 다 민직비지 말해
심지에 생이도 가서 것이 상주시
삼계진이다 라유전던 등이 있는 배당신라래 다들 좀 보시거든 그 맨디메 랑도 장주 등이 있는 바나 손대니세 대전조의 이기나 비켜발진데
So with that, we will consider done with the sevenfold cause and effect quintessential instruction of cultivating bodhicitta or awakening mind, and now we'll go quickly to sixth practice of perfection. And with that kind of cultivation of thought of benefiting all sentient beings and taking kind of self-commitment and making resolution that I will make sentient beings free from suffering, the actual practice that they do is the practice of sixth perfection, beginning with the practice of generosity, and then ethics, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. And as we said earlier, in terms of cultivating a bodhicitta, two kind of ways. One is like king, another is like a shepherd. So king like a bodhicitta, the practitioner first kind of tries to attain enlightenment for oneself. And therefore, one needs to engage into the practice of, cultivation of this practice of six perfections. And Geshe mentioned the kind of the definition of the bodhicitta here, but in brief, bodhicitta has to have two kind of components. The first one is to make all other sentient beings, so to carry all sentient beings, all other sentient beings to the state of enlightenment. And for that, the second part is achieving enlightenment for oneself. And these two makes, bodhicitta. And so the actual practice that they engage in is, as we said earlier, six practice of perfection, beginning with the practice of generosity or giving. And basically, generosity is a state of a thought of giving. It's a state of thought and or mind state. And thought of giving without any kind of sense of attachment, and the giving or generosity is categorized into three: giving of dharma, giving of material wealth, and giving of protection. Giving of dharma is sharing to somebody who is interested of knowledge of your dharma teachings. A second, material wealth, giving small, big to needy person, poverty, giving practice of generosity. And then third is protection or protecting from fear, It's basically like a saving of life, animal that is sure to kind of coming to end of life, and you protect and save life. So three types of giving or generosity.
Then that Sutim, Nibadi Sutim, that Sutim Zedola, Sung is Sembala. Sung is Semba Karisung Zebayana, that Yen La Neba Jidan Jebane, Mid Jidan Jebe, Midunjo, Ong is Sembatella, that Sutim Zegon. That Tenda Sutim Della, Gawachidi Karsa, Nijo Dumbe Sutim, Gawachidi Sutim, Samjan Doji Sutim, and Yang, Sumyong War. Yevata was Chibana. 다 니제도 비틀림들이 미기 주봉이 틀림 라서 비 다소 저보다 마침발라 마침발렘바 다 준다 타말라서 비 가서 미기 주 송해지어라 대소 데라서 비다 아 미팅조 포인트 바디 강다 강인바디 다 니제도 비틀림데 되네 개와 취득이 틀림제 되어라 아니 짐발라서 비기다 jizo parjin dula supi nyamlengi ta gewi jawate so kanga hani kone kondo pelor chi hati gewa chiri ki tsurimre tene nije dumbi tsurim gewa chiri ki tsurim samchen donje ki tsurim la samchen donje ki tsurim zedo la janju seba jendon je bate tan dordo na samchen jengi tonda la ta chi soso ki donduwe ki chidum tam beba chayate samchan donji ki tsurim zindiyor. Odini chayita tsurim chay. Ta japa.
Yes, and second is the first one is generosity. Second is ethic. The ethic or ethical discipline is again, a state of mind of protection or guardian. A state of mind in which there is abstaining from harming others from its very kind of basis or foundation. So, complete abstention of harming others thought. It's a state of thought when we say discipline or ethical, ethics. And again, this is categorized into three. The first one is abstaining from, negative activities. The second is gathering of virtuous activity. Third is engaging in the acts of benefiting other sentient beings. The first one, abstaining from negativities, basically refers to, such as vows of abstaining from 10 non-virtuous activity, abstaining from such as physically act of killing, so on and forth. And second, collecting or gathering of virtuous activity refers to, basically, developing virtuous activities that you are engaged into, such as practice of generosity, taking them into further kind of sort of intensity or development. And then third, benefiting other sentient beings is basically engaging in the act and that kind of, really benefit, effort that really benefits other sentient beings.
Tene ta zeba zidole ta nga zin ta dabuji tema son ra ta ko ngodon dabu kare gu yore zaina sozo ran yu ji nyomo tozo lo soba ya ondo gyurmo majuwa chine ta nga be sambaji tene chila ko gu yore zeba zidole imba inza zendegi zeba tela yang nöjele chiminya be zeba dungal taling zeba imba yo
dungal taling son chulung yeseng zeba.
dungal taling zeba chulung yeseng zeba zere. On nöjele chiminya be zeba zedonla ta pena pharo bo jenji ge ta sozola je 강한 생년 자바인 라바이나 안다도 손자 라자든데 매저 제바이나 안다도 대소라인지 가서다 다 강다 코랑 기타지 마셰 바당 Tindigi Wangita, Chungshago Mado, Kora ranking when it Cheshaba Mare, Korangi Kon Yamana, Pajo Gaza, Neche Chinin, Never Chinin Gaza, Korangi, Kondong on to your tail, Yenjin to Zuma, Mazola Sozola Never Cheva Mado. Take Mare Sanita, the Palandale Milobati, Necele Chiminian Bizapare. Then, Dungal Taling is about Dungal Taling is about the dollar. Ando Pajola, that's also never Chinia Gaza Giro. Sosola never Chinia Gaza della, Dungal, the Tombaina. Aji Kandata, Pajola Dental, Mazo Imbana, Soso Magasa della Taji, Tamisiba, Midu Bichaji Jumaina, or Tandis on Tag, the Tata Reset of Gawagoma Jura. Take Gawagoma get some Sabdella, Dungal Dichia della, Nujali Jimmy is a bacha. Any Chicago. Chulang SM is a ballad. That Chulang SM is a buzz, they don't let that Tata Jim do. Karzordan, Tandina, they say the Tata should be mean with the Mita but the Lendela so be you'll that are neba, that are nebany, maybe Joa, Chulang Magic is a bazzi. The Shatati, Tata Chitanimido. That dinner in Jevaina, Maranzogeta, Miduba Gombeata, Yamana, Mita Badan, Otata Mepala so big. Tetala, the Lobjone Hako Chini, Della Gazorta, Nebanyeta, Sheberchate, the Cholangasm the Baziti, the Digitation.
Third is patience or tolerance. It's a thought of, in simple form, it's a thought of, restraint or, abstaining and not making your affliction manifested at that moment. And again, this is divided into three. The first one is not retaliating against, the harmful treatment towards you. The second is voluntarily embracing suffering. And then third is gaining certainty in the Dharma or realities of the things. The first one would be, the regular patients when somebody abuse you verbally, physically, using tools, weapons, responding in a such way that, that individual is doing out of not knowing and under the influence of anger or afflictions, and then not getting basically angry or hated towards that individual. And then second, embracing voluntarily, suffering. This one, again, somebody is abusing you, harming you, to that person, his state of mind, when he undergoes suffering difficulty, instead of kind of rejoicing, responding in a very positive, virtuous way. Third, gaining certainty in Dharma, patience is understanding of the reality, such as the impermanence nature, selflessness nature, and with that understanding or with that knowledge, then acting or sort of expressing that in your practice of patience.
That's the condition Jago Gevala Toas, Gevala Tumbatella, Tunduzigo, Gevi Chawachilla Tumgiana, Tella Tunduzigo. Ta Tendegi Tundu Telayam, Karigo, Samjan Donjaki Tsundu, the Wachidi Tsundu, ne direta, Kochi Tsundu, Kochi Tsundu. Ta Kochi Tsundu Zidola, Kandijila Jago Rezana, Sonamji Soda, Ishiki Sola, Sony Makeba, Heber Jebatan, Heba Kone Kondo Power Jebatella, Kochi Tsundu. Tene, Chinduku Nyamlan La Soba, Lambeba Tela, and the Karzor. Gawachidi Gitsundu. And Samjang Jengi Tunla Tumbatella, Samjan Donji Gitsundu, the Jaguar. Batsurim Batsundi. Ta sometimes they are there. Sometimes they are the Gesem Lazin, that's Gesem Gilati to Number Jabatella, and sometimes you go. Tend away sometimes the lion, Yena, Nansigi Sumyor. Sum Zedola, Chikarezana, ta Kalichil number jagu, Nyamja, Krang la chick, Zichi Dota, Miba Zichu, Miba Jella Maya Bachini, Zichi do number Jabatella, Tonjo Denigi, something like Tonjula, Tonjola, never some dance. Any Moshila Soba, Tumo Maybe, ta Jenga, Moshidu, Homni, Lam Homni, G. Tovejura. Dela Soba, Tumo Mayba, Dubigi, Womiagi, sometimes Dela, Gawachidi, sometimes. Then it, Semjan and you turn to be Chedu, Semjan you turn to Batalaya, Semjan Dunjiki, sometimes in it. Sumjawar. Ta Sharab Zedu, sure, ta Lenigi, your number Jebegita, Logila, ta Sharab Zegon. In Batun, some Sharab Zedola, Lenigi, your number J to Gingi Logila, Sharab. Ta Tende Sharab Delaya, Tondamba to be Sharab, Unzodamba to be Sharab, and Chindula of a Samjingi Tanla, Samjingi to the San Yebala, San Yegi Talam Chindula of a Yamlan Kandangala, Begu Yuba, the Sheber Chebe Lotela, young Sharabzene, that the Niki Sharab Mida number Sum Jendusum, younger.
Number 4 is diligence or effort. Effort is, in simple form, it's joy in creating virtuous activity. It has to be virtuous activity in making effort in creating virtuous activity. And again, this is categorized into the 3 armor-like effort, which is effort that is created to develop, to cultivate and develop, merit and wisdom accumulations of these 2. And then secondly, gathering of virtuous activity that refers to making effort in a practice of any of the 6 practice of perfection. And then third, benefiting other sentient beings, whatever activities that benefits other sentient beings, 3 form. And the 5th of the 6 is concentration. Concentration is single pointedly meditative equipoise, which is a state of a virtuous mind, single-pointed virtuous mind is concentration. Again, it can be categorized into 3. The first one would be abiding in this present blissful moment. Basically, this refers to the single-pointedly abiding in the state of meditative equipoise. The second, again, gathering of virtuous activity. It refers to the unique, path or practices of attaining like 5, divine qualities, attaining of 6, bhumis or path. And third, same as the earlier one, benefiting other sentient beings, whatever activities that comes under the concentration of benefiting others. And then finally, wisdom. Wisdom refers to a state of mind able to discriminate what is a positive and what is negative, and able to do that. And again, the wisdom can be categorized into wisdom realizing ultimate nature, wisdom realizing conventional nature, and wisdom of able to engage in the knowledge of six practice of perfection.
Pena jimba zo rabi jina jimbe nyamla la jugu yena jimbe la nyamla la juba te da nyamdu ta jimba chibu thola samlo mata ba chine jimbe nyamla la juba te da nyamdu tange solri ni nyamla zobe nyamla zundu nyamla te chasang do zuma nyamdu chen draining do tala ta chindu gu nyamla zo chindu gu nyamla cheba yina jimbe nyamla chibu mai jimbe jimba to ka so jimbe Jimba tonga kora jimbe jimbaje. Tene jimba tonga nekab tedang nyamdu ta nga tsuge tangi surimgi songsamji yorwa. Ta migi chula soba tendegi songsam gomayade jimbe surimji. Tene taga na jingi chi yanla haro sosola neba chengen tala chi minyabe lo gomayatala jimbe zobaje. Jimba tsurim zoba. Ane jimba tonga tedang nyamdo ane chigi chindugu nyamla la beba tela jimbe tsundu chagwa re. Jimba tsundu. Tene ta jimba tonga ene kap tedang nyamdo wata yul kari ina tingi zela chigi samli thoni sem zijidu gewe chawa jila sem chidu zijidu neba ina te jimbe samdang. Wata jimba tonga te taga sechi tawa zamayimba kogi karo zore jimba tongwe yul jimba tongwe tongsa kansa tegi goba peyun dubja la soba tegi samlo tabayana jimbe shirab hagwa tala jimbe shirab chini tuzuma chini chindu riri nyamla chidola chindu riri nando riri chasang samar chini tuzuma nyamdo dobe nata
When we say practice of six perfection, the practice of six perfection, it's a practice that includes entire practice of six practice of perfection within one perfection. And for example, the practice of generosity. So when you practice a generosity, practice of generosity can be, inclusive of all six practices of perfection. And the generosity itself is the, generosity of generosity if you're giving something. And then if that generosity is practiced with the some, form of restraining or abstaining, vows or commitments, such as, 10, negative vows, that becomes generosity of ethics. And again, if you do that generosity practice with the abstaining, harming in response to somebody harming you, that's the generosity with the patience. And generosity with, effort or diligence, some form of diligence, that's the generosity of, generosity with, effort. And while doing a generosity, if you have some form of concentration, single-pointedness, that becomes a generosity of, ethics, concentration. And finally, when you are engaging in the practice of generosity, able to analyze, understand the nature of whom you are, giving, the receiver, what are the benefits, all those kind of investigation, understanding becomes wisdom part. So within a one practice of generosity, one can have an entire six practice included, comprehensive six practice of, perfection.
Nilus Motuba, Tandamar Motuba, Tindiki Samlatambaina, the Jimishab Chadel. Take it some Ketan, the Chinduki Moto and Dordu to Suma. Jizim Bachi, the Tiwa Kajana, come and choose to do.
Generosity, wisdom, can think of as the three entity that is involved in practice of generosity, right? A giver, receiver, and the object that is giving. All of these three are by nature merely imputed things by conceptual thoughts and sound, and don't exist inherently truly. So that is wisdom. So with that, we did a brief kind of briefly on altruistic mind and six practice of perfection, and we'll have a remaining time for questions, discussions, if you have any questions. Yeah.
So if a person didn't have a kind mother, do we just try to think of someone else as kind?
마셔봐라 말 당시 어디 제시자로. 근데 아마야 오면 가지고 가게 되죠 그래서. 아마야 오면 근데 여러다 또 저들 망고도 안 줘. 아마야 오면 근데 아마야 참교 말하게 되는 여러. 연조 삼당다 가게 삼당을 해도.
아마기 잠경균이 말하긴.
아마도 잘라 오라.
아마기 잠경균이 말하긴세나.
아마기.
다 하람 다 매베서도 비지로. 다 부카지라 다 부중중이다. 매응알리 해바다. 동서버도 보든데 더 여바이나. 다 콜라 파메기 잠경 말하세요. 또 가자티 세고로. 로. 텐데 더보라 삼블당바이나 알레 담보 토만 지된 딩알라 히야데 스위팅이 해샤로. 대 가서 학 아마큐니 매바이나 히에 자원이나 아마메나 히야데 매데로.
매 잠경이 펑와라.
매기 잠경이 펑세데 다 텐데게 조다부지 찍체. 양 부 가세질라다 파마 시부지다 가서다 주부저라다 그뒤나 부글지 토삼 센데 아딘데기리지 라타 파메기 잠경 말아봐서 용거로 된들라 대졸로 찾아봐야 가지고 토만디가 해야 돼 알에 가르치니 간디스 해봐대 맹알 예배 가둘라 다 가졸로 파메 잠경 말아줘야 돼 시작하고로 다 말아서 뭐서 다 소속에 계산이 치도 처외기 때문에 파메 잠경자에 간디지 예매자데 가족이 야루자데 메긴알 다 저걸 예배 가돌라 가지고 저한테 용투고요 말이지 데이즈 미니둘라 가족에 섬르당 바이나 단데게다 율링기 마지기 우메 저걸라 알데 냐르데베 가둘라다 강알 가족이 동란치고도 오다 테 부구 돈다 지고라 섬르당 모기 마데게 다 자동라 소베 차당라 소베기다 딘데게 강알 가즈지라다 논란체니 로고도 다 대조 성을 담바나 되게 마기틴 되게 돈은 가지고 텐트베지 요레스
So generally in that kind of case would be kind of rare, and depending on circumstances, a child that was kind of passed away immediately after giving birth by mother, or a child that grew up not getting proper love and care by mother, or a mother very kind of harsh in a way, treats child really badly. In all of these circumstances, the first thing that comes to the mind is the very existence of yourself comes from your mother, and mother made that happen. And the other thing is that what mother went through and what you received, her kind of caring and loving when you are in her womb would be hard to tell at that time when you're in the mother's womb. So for that, we can kind of, retrospectively kind of, look at present mothers, how they are treating their fetus in their womb, taking care of, as said earlier, abstaining from certain food, cold, warm. So they made all those effort while you are in mother's womb. And reflecting on those might be helpful, to kind of, remember that remembrance of kindness of one's mother.
The reason is something in all layer. I think the young children, young children, young girl, Cardo, Maggie, Sozo, Jevadan Zading, Dindigi something Yodero, that the Zo Kora Cardo, Tangazuki, the Zuki, something the Zuki, Azuki Maggie in country, some numbers, and they go Jashaji, come Misal of Jashaji, Mother, G. Channing Azo Mati social attention, social attention by Yambadi, that's Suzuki, and that Sogi in Yondang, turning as a Haku to Gorita, Marazu, Kazuj means a Kazu means Mizunala Chopang Embassy Chopa Subushita, Aduja Kadita Chevaina, Kabdu Kabdulata, Magichi, she trained on your theater, that's she Zizu Mayala. Mayala Sobita, Che Yevainaya could Taju de la Ula Sewa Ding, Maggie Samgi Ding de la Sewa Mevajita, Halamalam, Medabas of Shide.
So there can be kind of, exceptional rare case where in animal realm, for example, certain animals giving birth immediately, they just eat their, fetus. That can happen, but these are rare cases. We are talking about, in that case, if you talk about how do you contemplate the, kindness, then there's really, there's nothing there, it's kind of out of our kind of,
Ignore the Namachi Yusha, Salomata.
So we were saying it's best to ignore that kind of, case, but here we are talking, here we are talking about, general common sense, that how mother would have, treat their children. And we all know that, that's something common knowledge, a general kind of knowledge, understanding. And in certain circumstances, when child behaves badly, mother might use harsh words, might treat badly. But at the at the depth of her heart, she always has a love and care, and that we cannot deny. Yes. Okay. Sure.
So, about having like in order to sort of accept that everyone has been our mother, it's like sort of a pre-existing belief in rebirth. And I do think that we are reincarnated, but the idea that literally everyone would have been my mother, like that means I would have been born like 7 billion times or something. So is it like a metaphor or like do I take that literally?
탐제랑 마치 요 말이라로. 다들 걸어오래. 제가 스페더 오시려고 그래. 뭐네 주 식당랑 전다 당하려고 그래서. 되게 좀 탐제 마치 요나네 뱃 걸어오래. 다 tunjur만 보고 마요로 알아도. 근데 식당랑 식 고전 당하려 양데 다가 걸어오래. 빼려오래. 차샤로 오시려도. 마마 치모뉴 요 말이라고 그래.
당고요 니줄라 섬을 담배는 아주 뒤숨까지 시고라. 데비 뒤지까지 시고래. 다사비 뒤지까지 시고래. 마오비 뒤지 시고래. 뒤뒤 숨분랑라 다 거라 마거라. 다 요마를 지도와. 다 임바이나 아주 당게 셰발라 셰빈 거의 년렌지요라. 년렌데 셰발 깨진 아마지기마도 안에 Zula Sobitindi, shipping Yellen Chayo Mare, Satiki, Kiwanga, Naji Yobati to go, Kiwanga Gigi Yosovaina, Tangazo, Dori do Nalola, Ta Mazuki Semji or Mazuki Semdi, Ta Sang Lotonda, Tita Bunda, Mambu, one Tanga Yedebaji, Salvore de Mato, Tanang Meng and Azu Keba and Yamdo, Mazugila Zubuti Tuba and Shabati Yamdo to the Bajimares. Meng Aldo Tuyade, Zubut. Te chiru doa teta nyamdo shebegi yunji mengaldo nyamdo sabanji do maleba ina zug chambo to bane te tanto shepa le to kumara tendege inta tendege da shepa de ngara me mala tene do so ki tanda sendi la ngazo ki de ba ngazo maran zo ge ta tongju ma ha ko ji ye de ba chi 다 셰바텔라 그 윤지 토마 메바네 또 윤지 여 되바이나 여바이나 다 단다 센디 히와지 부 마임바 마로서 센디니 치소나 양 히와지 레데레 센디라 마키베 마로도 양 히와지 랜데 여바데 되게 하고도 그래 이마이나 다 샘전 달렌데 바 여레데 샘전 달렌데 바 마부지게 히와가마 마불랑아서 마치 짐바지 다 센디 마사부디 단다 센디 히완딜라 마체 짐바지 달다벨 초라 다 마오바나 히와 망부지랑아서 단다 히 무드네 히와 랭기 요바이나 다 히와 렌세 테르라 마리 마제바 마지라 마덴바타 히와 렌 메바디 에 메바 차두고라 간다 마지라 땡구 요레 땡바이나 제자 오 투이숨 로고샤 갸브니 마조 히와 랭기 요바이나 그 마메바 말라 마덴 비켜라야지 매대바든 아주 리베기 두스만 뚝뚝 거래 하고 두고 그래서 이마자 거대 다담다 책담지 두스만 남비 중리 셰데바데 지 최기 책담 두스만 보통 인지부진이 셰데바지 말에 텔라 리베기 남자기 소속이 째나 두스만 하고 봐야 여데바지 돈에 누구 그래서
Realistically, when we investigate into this, we look through kind of, timing. So we look at the timing. There's a past, and then there's a present, and then there's a future. And as we said earlier, when we prove in Buddhism the previous life and likewise future life, we look at what's called immediate cause of the consciousness. The immediate cause of the consciousness must be something nature of consciousness. Inanimate object cannot produce, the consciousness. So therefore, this consciousness must have a prior moment of consciousness. And when you do that, we are proving the existence of the, past life. And when we do that, even just going into the past, it's kind of limitless, kind of countless. And when we were born in this lifetime to this mother, our mother is sort of not inventing us. We are not something, we are not completely new in terms of consciousness. And the continuity of the consciousness goes continuously, and it develops with this present kind of body, and then it kind of develop further. And so kind of using this life mother's sort of experience, and then how we came up to this, as we said earlier, kind of beginninglessness, and then likewise, after this life, our consciousness must continue, existing continuously. And so when we look into the past and looking into the future, past, countless numbers, we don't know how many. Into the future would be kind of same, amount, limitless. We don't know how many, but because consciousness has to continue, has to, move on continuously. Whenever there is a moment of birth, there has to be a mother. So in Buddhism, we use kind of, kind of establish this point through reasoning and logic, and therefore it means what it is said rather than kind of, metaphorically or. Yeah.
I have a quick question. Understanding that developing equanimity is a prerequisite to successfully practicing the sevenfold cause and effect method. Why isn't it called the eightfold? If it's that integral to the actual practice.
근데요, 나도 당념대 이제 응원도 자기는 검고고에나로 견대명아 된 견대명아 기에 가신다고 말해. 뒤에 저거 뒤는 같은 샤를.
자위게 토마 사이기 소용도라 샘케줄 간데 소용도라 다제년저고네 샘케줄 지단다 유능한 등이고네 샘케줄 전에다고 림바다 마선에게 간사 소속에다 로라바비로 가자 카셀라 다진 냠제고네 샘게 바이나 이 샘게 히레 라와요 버터 가자 가지라 유네명아 딘이고네 샘게 바나 이 샘게 데 히레 라와요 비 금전도 전에 니수여 제바레스 다 유네명아 딘제 송과데 사이게 도에 나올라 도니 송도라 유네명아 딘이 림바마도 단다 다진 냠제 이 단념제야데 모수 송요 말레스 예를 보치게 때 사기요 도나 사기기 송바데 유르명아 등보 텔라 마르시바데 고발라 타뇽 고유요바데 모요니조레스 이나야 예를 보치게 사기기 송샤베 텔라 카살로 당바이 당네 타뇽도스 만님비게 바레스
Initially, when Buddha, gave teaching on this in the sutra itself, we find, these two techniques: sevenfold cause and effect, and then exchanging and equalizing oneself with others based on the, depending on the different mental capacity or dispositions or suitability of the followers. Some prefer, exchanging and equalizing more appropriate, suitable, while others might prefer, sevenfold cause and effect. And in the sutra, we find, these sevenfold. And in reality, that, sort of prerequisite of equanimity is, in reality, it is needed. But later, we can say it is further kind of clarified by Lama Tsongkhapa, adding equanimity. In the actual sutra, it's a sevenfold cause and effect. Yes, that's it. Kore shingam su pendan dewa malu jungwe ne chere sewa tenzin gyazo yin shabe stite pato tengyuro che jamba palu chitara kemba don kondo sambo de ande jinde teta kungi jesu dalo jin gyawa deda tamje rabdu tusumo shabe gyawa tamje gi moa kala choto Bajin gebe sawa diguinja sambo chuje rato mowaragi chanju sanjo rembo je moje banam gejo je kyawa nyamba mebraya hane kondo pewara sho donyi tawa rembo je moje banam gejo je kyawa nyamba mebraya hane kondo pewara sho. In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefit flows in your person, Geshe, Tenzin, Gyatso, remain until samsara ends. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attain omniscience and Samandrabhat are true, so now I dedicate these merits to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas of the past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme, so now I too dedicate these sources of my merit for all beings to perfect good actions. May the supreme jewel Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, And may that which is arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. May the spiritual view of emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which is arisen not diminish. But thank you.
Thank you.